This episode's for my HR colleagues who feel like HR is getting a bad rap. I've been reflecting on this a lot lately, and I'm here to share my thoughts, and I would love to hear yours. Welcome to Reimagining HR with Trina Sunday, the rule-breaking podcast where we challenge our thinking and our current people practices. This podcast is for time-poor HR teams and business leaders who are feeling the burn, lacking laughs, and not feeling the love. I'm Trina, your host, and I'm here to cut through the BS, explore different ways of thinking, and create high-impact HR functions. Because happier, healthier organisations are better for our people and our bottom line. So if you are keen to flip traditional HR on its head, hit the follow or subscribe button so you're the first to know when new episodes drop. I'm here to help and also to shake things up. So let's get started. Today we're diving into a topic that is very close to my heart and crucial for the success of our HR profession: improving HR's brand and reputation. Whether you're tuning in from your office during your commute or relaxing at home, I'm really glad to have you here. Because let's face it, HR doesn't always get the best rap. There's plenty of jokes and memes out there, but beyond the humour and behind the humour, there's real issues that we need to address. So today we'll explore what people are saying about HR and what's causing the damage, but more importantly, how we can fix it and practical steps to improve HR's brand. We'll also sprinkle in some wisdom from thought leaders and some frameworks to help guide us that I've used successfully in the past. So what are people saying? I've been thinking about this a lot since my recent episode with Michelle Redfern, where she shared the perceptions executives have of us in HR. And I've been chatting to some of our HR community since then who have gone through their own quest to improve their own HR brand and credibility for their people function. So what exactly are they saying about HR? If you missed that episode, well, unfortunately, it's not always positive. You might hear things like HR are just there to protect the organisation, or HR doesn't really care about employees. These perceptions stem from various sources, right? Including past experiences and how the media portray us, and sometimes our own actions. And in a study highlighted by AI HR, they found that HR is often seen as bureaucratic and disconnected from business needs, and that people think that we're all about policies and procedures without understanding humans at the element of our work. And it's incredibly frustrating, especially for those of us who are really passionate about making a difference. So what's causing this negative reputation? Let's break it down. One of the big things is a lack of visibility. We often work behind the scenes. While this is necessary, it also means that our successes and the cool things that we've done and contributed aren't always visible to the rest of the organisation. We're like the ninjas of the corporate world. We're doing critical work, but it's often unnoticed. The other thing that I've seen is inconsistent communication. So when HR only communicates during a time of crisis or policy enforcement or implementation, it reinforces the notion that we're the organisation's enforcers, rather than advocates for employees. And so we've got to look at how we're showing up and how we're communicating with people and how balanced that is. But the other thing is resistance to change. Like sometimes, and lots of the clients that I work with, because I work predominantly with HR leaders and teams, HR departments are seen to be slow to adapt to new trends and technologies. And the world is fast-paced now, right? And so that can make us look like we're really out of touch. And then the last one that you all would have heard about is kind of a focus on compliance, like the compliance police. And that's a focus on compliance over culture. So while compliance is vital, absolutely vital, the overemphasis on it can really overshadow our role in shaping and nurturing organisational culture. So how do we fix it? Let's move to the good stuff. How do we fix it? Well, improving HR's reputation isn't about a quick fix. Sorry. It's like my fitness regime. It's about sustained effort for us to then be able to demonstrate our value, get the outcomes. And so we need to be visible and transparent. Transparency builds trust. And lots of HR people I talk to is everything we work on, Trina, it's confidential. I call BS on that. Of course, we can't breach privacy and share information that's sensitive and out of context, but we can be transparent. We can share the work we're doing. We can celebrate our wins and communicate openly about our initiatives. And we can use platforms beyond kind of the newsletter intranet and engage with apps and Slack and even social media to be connecting. Like, let people know how HR is contributing to the success of the organisation's goals. No one's going to dream of how we've helped an organization get the profit this year. Like, if we don't connect the dots for people, people are not going to see it. So to be visible, we've got to be transparent, we've got to show up, and we've got to then do what's next, and that's improve our communication. So it's got to be a part of our regular strategy. We can't just show up when there's a problem. The challenge we have is we're really busy fighting fires. I know, I hear it all the time. But that doesn't mean we can only focus on the problems. If we are strategic and if we want to improve our brand and our reputation, we have to share positive stories. We have to share the employee successes and the HR initiatives. Like, host regular Q&A sessions where we show up as real people, have employees share their concerns and get to know us better. Now, lots of us have been beaten up in the past when we've tried to do that, and we feel like all we're going to cop is abuse. Well, that might be where it starts. Sorry, it might be where it starts. And is that okay? No. Is that the culture that we want to create in our organizations? No. But if we're not going to be showing up to have those conversations and those critical conversations, then we're not going to be building that connection with people to change it. The other thing that we have to do is embrace change. We've got to stay ahead of the curve. We need to be adopting new technologies and methodologies, and whether it's leveraging AI for talent management or using people analytics to drive decisions, we need to show that HR is innovative, because that's going to help shift perceptions. And I've mentioned it before that there is research that shows that HR is the slowest function to innovate in any business. And we need to shift that. And if we shift that perception, it'll change how people view us and the reputation, how credible we are. And then we talk about culture, right? And I know we need to focus on culture and we need to be the champions of it. But we need to work closely with leadership, who should be owning it, right? To make sure those organizational values are not just posters on the wall and they can be lived and breathed. But we need to just focus on what we can control in culture change. There are levers for change that HR are the custodians of, whether that's our recruitment processes, whether that's how we reward people, whether that's how we assess people's performance. We have the privilege and opportunity to co-create programs with business leaders that can help promote engagement, promote diversity and inclusion and belonging, and promote how we are going to recognize and reward people that are doing great things. But the reality is, though, for us to be effective in all that good stuff, we need allies. And this has come to the fore for me because I've been doing a lot of allyship work in the inclusion and diversity space recently. But to improve HR's reputation and credibility, we need allies. And just like in Karen Catlin's book, Better Allies, Everyday Actions to Create Inclusive, Engaging Workplaces, allyship is crucial for systemic change. Allies within and outside HR can amplify our efforts and they can help shift perceptions. Encourage leaders and employees to understand and recognise their privilege and to use that privilege to support HR initiatives. The P word can be uncomfortable, but if we understand privilege, people with privilege have influence. And if they understand the privilege that they have, and when those leaders with privilege advocate for HR, it validates our role and our efforts. Allies can help implement systemic changes that benefit everybody. And when employees see that HR has the support of influential allies, it boosts our credibility. So allies should actively listen to our challenges and successes. They need to believe in our mission in HR and learn how they can support us. And that ongoing support is going to strengthen HR's position within our organisations. And this is where our strategic network becomes key. You are seeking out the allies that you need to have or that you already have, but that you're not leveraging. We need to encourage those allies as well to diversify their networks and bring different perspectives to the table, because that inclusivity is going to help us in HR to create more effective and representative policies and programs. So that allies can rally the troops. They can help people get involved in our stakeholder engagement that would otherwise say no. And so I like to think that I'm a really big ally to the HR community, and I do consciously look at Karen Catlin's ally archetypes to see how I can show up better in support of the HR community. And I try and do this deliberately. I do it deliberately and I reflect on it every week. How am I going to show up this week? How am I going to ally with my HR colleagues? So I try to be the sponsor talking up my colleagues' expertise, recommending them for stretch assignments. I make sure that I know what their dreams and their career goals are, and I tell decision makers so that they're on their radar. And sometimes that looks like me sponsoring someone for a job in an organisation. And that's where I also champion. So it's championing HR colleagues in public spaces and directing questions to them as the SME in the room, especially in-house HR leads when I'm in the room as a consultant. There is nothing more annoying to a HR manager or a head of function than saying something, not being heard, and a consultant saying the exact same thing and everybody listening. That can be our privilege, that's our space of influence, and it's our role, if we are good allies, to champion those people in the room who are the SMEs that have that local context. It's also about being an amplifier. So I'm an amplifier that calls out toxic meeting behaviour and ensure that voices are heard. So I want to credit other people's ideas. So when someone says, oh, that's a great idea, Trina, it's like, oh, no, actually, Jane actually shared that with me this morning and we were talking more about it. So it'd be great if Jane can actually jump in and share more of her thoughts on it because it was her idea. Don't take the credit. No one likes that person. But it's also advocating for HR colleagues to be included in meetings, invited to events and asked to collaborate projects outside of their core role. So if you have an opportunity to influence that, do it. I'm trying to do that all the time. And it's also me taking on that role as a scholar. I was not an academic person at uni, people. Don't ask for my transcript. It's not going to be impressive. I had other things to do that were more interesting to me because it wasn't my type of learning. But I do have a thirst for learning and for growth and a curiosity to want to hear and listen to other people's experiences. I don't know it all. I know that and I will say that. I mean, I know a lot and I'm really resourceful, but only because I seek out knowledge constantly. And I know that that's lucky because that's what my business is and not everyone gets to do that. But find a way that you can shortcut getting that knowledge. And I do know that I'm 100% the confidant as well. So if we're looking at allyship, I have HR leaders tell me their deepest fears, frustrations and desires. And it's an honour to be trusted with people's secrets and to have and to create that safe space for them to vent and to brainstorm and strategize and to dream. I am here for it. I want to be a game changer and help other people live their dreams, to be thriving in the roles that they're doing. But the hardest role I have in allyship to HR, not going to lie, it's being the upstander. We talk about bystander versus upstander. Upstanders are the ones that stand up and take action, right? It's pushing back on offensive comments when I hear us being called the fun police or human remains. It's me speaking up against toxicity or shutting down off-topic questions that are clearly being asked in the room and in an exec meeting, for example, to expose HR. I see this happen a lot, and I'm sure you do too. But it's people trying to catch us out rather than working with us constructively. And I'd love to know how you're going with your allyship to your HR peers. But in terms of practical steps to improve HR's brand, one of the things I think about, and I talk about this with my coaching clients a bit, and that's Robert Cialdini's principles of persuasion. There were originally 6 principles, right? There's now 7 because he talks now and has added unity. But there's a few of them that I think are really key. And one of them's reciprocity. That's when you offer help and support to other departments before you need something from them. It's when people see you as a giver, they're more likely to support HR initiatives. The other thing is consistency. So be reliable and consistent in our actions and communications. If we promise something, we have to deliver it, right? And then the other aspect that I think about when I think about principles of persuasion and influence is the social proof. And this is why communicating and being visible and sharing testimonials and success stories from employees is really important. Because when people see their peers having positive experiences with HR, they're more likely to trust and engage with us. So I think that looking at the principles of persuasion is actually a really good place to go for some inspiration in this, in terms of improving your brand and your reputation. I also look at Enable HR International's framework for inspiration as well. That reinforces that a great HR function has reputation as a key enabler, where the function is seen as being a trusted advisor and partner. So we need to build strong relationships with key stakeholders. We need to understand their needs and we need to provide tailored solutions, not one size fits all. And with that is showing how HR's aligned to the business objectives, right? How we're a strategic partner. The other thing when I look at what disruptive HR talk about, for example, they talk about closing the credibility gap. And that's about us being more commercial. It's about being data-driven and employee-centric. Now, that can seem like, HR speak on HR speak, but it's like we have to be commercial and show how we are making our business money or saving them expenses. Because at the end of the day, profit and purpose are the two things that are going to get attention. And there is no other function, and you would have heard this from our last episode that I did with Richard Rosenow on people analytics. There is no other function in the business that tries to make decisions without having data. Nobody. And putting humans and employees at the core of it, it means that what we can do is understand the business metrics that matter to our leadership teams and to align our HR strategies to impact those metrics. So we've got to use data to back up our decisions, and we've got to show how HR initiatives are driving real business results. The other thing I think about is continuous learning and development. So we need to be investing in our HR team's development. The amount of HR teams that I work with and speak to, because I do so many HR workshops and team workshops and lifting HR capability or running clarity sessions with people, HR generally, especially HR leaders I talk to, have not invested in themselves for a really long time. How do we expect to be at the forefront if we don't know what's happening on the front line? So I think it's really important to encourage continuous learning and to provide opportunities for that professional growth so that when our team is knowledgeable and skilled, it reflects positively on the entire HR function. So we need to be learning constantly, as I said, to stay ahead of that curve. But it doesn't have to be, that's just more to do, more for us to fit in, more, not enough hours in the day. We need to incorporate and shift our mindset with this and incorporate it into our daily habits. Time for connecting with new contacts or listening to relevant podcasts like this one and reading new research and looking at insights. Those things are really important. We don't have to be doing traditional full-day workshops and things. We now have at our fingertips bite-size, just-in-time learning that we can consume really quickly at times that are convenient to us. And AI can help us make that learning process quicker. It's all about the prompts, people. It is all about the prompts. I guess my overall reflection as I bring all this together is that I think the key for me is having deliberate intention. It's about the daily habits. We need to build daily practices, which I know can feel clunky and time-consuming at first, but we need to be intentional because consistency is what's going to give us credibility. And so if we are showing up in a consistent way every day in terms of how we communicate and delivering on promises and making sure we're learning and making sure we're staying in touch with the people and the allies that are critical for us to be successful, if we're doing that on a daily basis, not all of it on the same day, but that is what it's going to take to build consistency. And that consistency is going to improve HR's reputation and credibility. Because remember, it's all about visibility. It's about communication, us embracing change and focusing on culture. But the trusted and valued advisor that we aspire to be, it comes from the runs on the board, the value we add and the promises that we deliver on. And this is what I do when I do this work with HR teams. I do this. It's like a rep repair plan, a reputation repair plan, where we get in the room and we strategize this stuff. We break it down and we look at what is our deliberate intention going to be to improve our people functions reputation. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on what's worked for you, and how you're working to improve your HR functions brand. But better still, I'd love to hear from people teams who are there already, valued and credible partners in business. Imagine that. Before you go, If you are having some challenges with how your HR or your people functions being perceived, and you really do want to have a conversation around improving your brand and your reputation, please do reach out to us through the website, reimaginehr.com.au. We are fundamentally here to ally and work with HR teams on how they can level up, be valued, and be thriving in what they do. So if we can help you, then we're here for it. Thanks for tuning in and leaning in to this week's episode as we look to reimagine how we show up for our people, organisations and community. Reach out to us via our website at reimaginehr.com.au with your HR horror stories or suggestions of people you'd love to hear from or topics you want to explore. It's all about people, purpose and impact, and we are here for all of it. Until next time, take care, team.